Welcome to another great episode. We've had an awesome time talking with today's guest, Todd Lemay, president of Terrain Hopper USA.
This was a special treat for us because we love anything off-roading and anything that gets us exploring.
Terrain Hopper does just that. Get listening to hear more about this great resource.
And please remember, if you love this episode, to leave a review and share with a friend.
Ladies and gentlemen, in this corner, Eddie Gagnon! And in the opposite corner, Kristen Gagnon! This is What's Special About Special.
I wanted to say that.
Well, hello there. My name's Eddie Gagnon.
Eddie, I don't want to be here all night.
Welcome and thank you for joining us. My name's Eddie Gagnon. That was perfect. Kristen.
Your voice.
All right, folks, we'd like to welcome to our show Todd Lemay. He is the president of Terrain Hopper USA. Welcome, Todd. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And I said Lemay. Is it Lemay?
It's Lemay.
Lemay. Okay, cool.
We know someone with that last name, too.
I know.
Like famous General Lemay.
Oh, there's a General Lemay?
Yeah, from World War II.
I'll have to buff
General
up on my
Lemay.
history.
All right. I do like World War II, too. Awesome. So, again, thank you so much for joining us. Like we said, he's the president of the Terrain Hopper USA. But like all of our guests, we like to get into our little background of our personal story. So we're going to ask, tell us a little bit about your personal story.
How you're connected to the disabilities community. What's your background there?
Sure. Well, I want to thank you again for having me. My name's Todd. I grew up in a small town in Maine called Sanford. It's in southern Maine. And I was born with osteogenesis imperfecta, which basically is a brittle bone disease. And so if you've ever seen that movie Unbreakable, I have that same affliction that the gentleman in that movie has. And growing up, in Maine, the state of Maine is a very outdoorsy environment where they hunt and they fish and there's a lot of, outdoor activities and things like that. So, I wasn't able to participate in a lot of those, growing up. And so I graduated from Sanford High School in 1989, which seems like forever ago. And then I moved to Arizona and went to ASU. Not because it was a party school at the time, because I wanted to get away from the snow and the ice.
You say that, but just by saying that makes me think it was partially because of a party school.
well, we'll just agree to disagree.
So yeah, snow and
ice. When I moved here, to go to ASU, the primary reason was, being in a wheelchair. It's not easy getting around. As you guys know, in Massachusetts, you have snow, you've got ice, and not only is snow and ice hard to get around in a wheelchair, but it's very dangerous for someone like myself that has brittle bones. And so that the fear was always, someone dropping me or me slipping on the ice and falling and, breaking something. And so for me, it was more of a quality of life choice and a safety choice, really, to move away from that environment into the Phoenix area where we never have any snow.
Yeah.
And so I went to ASU and graduated in 1995. And I did take a couple years off between high school and ASU. Graduated with an accounting degree. And, I went to work for a large accounting firm as an auditor. And quickly realized that people don't like auditors.
No.
What do you mean?
And so I decided that I wanted to do something different after a few years. So I started my own IT company, and I did that here in Arizona for a few years. And, and then I sold that, I think 4 years ago, and decided that I wanted to do something more fun, more rewarding than fixing people's computers or auditing their books. And so that's how I got involved with Terrain Hopper.
So just to go back a little bit with osteogenesis, tell us a little bit about, like what comes with that as a, is that a degenerative disorder? Is that something that changes over time? Does it?
It's not necessarily degenerative. You typically, have a lot of your fractures early on in life.
Okay.
Because, you're a kid, a child, you don't know any better. And so you're not as careful.
You're learning how to move a little bit.
Right. You're learning how to deal with your disability.
Yeah.
And so I've had about 75 fractures, during my life. In the last, I would say 25, 30 years, I've had like 3. And so if you kind of, look at the numbers, a lot of them happened, early on. Mm-hmm. And so I've had many, many surgeries. I spent what feels like about half my life at Boston Children's Hospital, which is a great hospital. You don't think it's great when you're a kid and you're in there.
I know.
But, you look back on it and you realize they took really good care of you and, and did all the right things. And so, that's my connection to that community. And, and growing up, with a disability, it doesn't seem like that long ago, but in 1976, when it was time to enroll me in school, the local school system in Sanford, they wouldn't take me because they didn't want the responsibility to have to have an aid or carry me up the stairs and down the stairs. Back then there were no elevators in the schools and things like that. So my mom actually had to go to court to get the school system to actually admit me and and take care of me. So it doesn't seem like you would think that would have been figured out a long time ago, but she had to fight almost every year throughout my school to get me the right education. And so it's been a struggle for her anyways, from the beginning.
It's amazing to us. I mean, we met with Jim Lebrecht a few weeks back, and it aired a couple weeks ago from the documentary Crip Camp, and they were talking about the big changes they made with ADA and the sit-ins and everything they did, the 504 sit-ins and everything. And as it seems to a parent like me who just goes to an IEP meeting and says what I want, and they just have to comply, and this is what we need, and okay, but that it was just such a short time ago, really. That there was nothing in place, and that parents were, fighting on a regular basis for their kids to just get basic needs in schools or, an education, really, that it's crazy how far, and there's still so much work to be done, but how far things have happened and how much has happened. Right. Those parents at that point, I just think are such warriors, parents like your mom and, and his parents, and have created such like warrior kids, and they're warrior moms for really going to bat for their kids.
Yeah.
Right. Because, back then, if you didn't fight for what was right, you didn't get it.
Right. Yeah.
And I watched that documentary Crip Camp, and it was very, it was very enlightening to what people went through before my time,
right.
To get those rights. And, if you think about it, 1990 was not that long ago when the ADA was signed by, George Bush Sr.
Yeah.
And so it's crazy to think, even now when I go to some places, they're not accessible. They might not have a ramp, or they're grandfathered in. I don't know how many years have to pass by before, people realize that, okay, it's been 30 years since those, laws have been passed. How long is it before, the grandfather clause expires?
Oh yeah. Like by now they could probably make an accommodation. It hasn't been. It's been long enough to figure something out.
Even older facilities, because all the new facilities and stuff that they build are, of course, incorporating with those ADA laws. But it's these buildings that these so-called like grandfathered in. You have to make these updates and these changes. It's
it should be grandfathered in, but you have a time frame to get it done. Is how it should be.
It's like a game we play. We go places. I'd be like, look at, they don't have this. Like, that's crazy. But
when I was in Maine last summer, we went to this little bakery. We happened to be driving by, and there was this little bakery, and it had been there since 1971, since I was born and my wife was born. And so I said, oh, let's stop in there. And so, they had a big ramp on the side of the building for you to go in through the back because the front had, big steps. So I said, okay, well, it's not fun to go in the back way, but at least they have a ramp for us to be able to get in. So we went up the ramp, and this ramp was probably 40 feet long. And they spent a lot of money on this ramp, which was great. And you get up to the top of the ramp, and there was an 8-inch step to get from the ramp. It just didn't make any sense.
Whose idea is this?
Right. So we didn't end up, going there. Of course, the person came out and they said, oh, your wife can come in and, she can buy stuff. And I said, no, I'm not going to spend any money here, if I can't get in.
Yeah.
So
it's just, I think it's just a small matter of just thinking outside the box, really, on what if you're going to own a business, just, okay, what do I, and it is just being naive, really. If you don't know someone or not, which at this point is just a naive statement. I don't know someone, but like, if you don't, let's just say they don't know anybody that it would be necessary for, which I think is a naive statement because there's plenty of people that you could make accommodations for at this point. I mean, let's just put disabilities aside. Let's just look at elderly or anybody that you just might want to come into your business. Let's make accommodations for that alone. Let's just, let's just say, oh, I don't know anyone with a disability that would come frequent my establishment, which is a joke of an answer, but let's just say that's their answer. Right. You've got elderly people, you've got anyone that, even someone who breaks their leg that just needs an accommodation temporarily. All of these people are people who are going to spend money in your business. Mm-hmm. Why wouldn't you just make accommodation for that even?
Right,
These are more people.
And one of the reasons, I'm not sure how much you guys have traveled, down here to the Southwest or whatever, but when you look at how old the buildings are up in the Northeast in Maine and Massachusetts, and you come down to a place like Phoenix or even, Southern California, a lot of those buildings, they're so new that everything is accessible. I mean, I don't remember the last time I went someplace in Phoenix here and was not able to get in, or there was a step or steps, because everything is so new that by default everything is accessible.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So you found now. Did you search out that? I mean, I know you mentioned there was multiple reasons for going to Arizona specifically, but did you search that out, or did you get there and then just go, oh wow, it's much more accessible here than what I expected?
Right. Well, my girlfriend at the time, she wanted to take a trip to Arizona. And so I decided that I was going to come here to Arizona for a couple of weeks to check it out. Because I wanted to go someplace where it was, more accessible and the climate was different. And so I had applied to ASU and U of A, and I got accepted to both before I had even come down here. And then we flew down here for 2 weeks, and, it was just eye-opening to be able to say, oh my God, everywhere you go, there's a button. Everywhere on campus, you push a button and the door opens, and everything is flat and ramps. And I mean, there was no obstacles.
Yeah.
Right.
And so it was really, really eye-opening to me, because I had spent my entire life living in the Northeast where, it was probably 50% accessible.
Yeah.
And, half the schools I went to, I had to be carried up and down the stairs, or we'd have to, go through all these different things. And here it wasn't like that at all. So
I think and it's a perfect time for you to kind of experience that. College is such a time where you're, exploring, meeting new people, and kind of figuring out who you want to be in the world. And I think even in just life, you hit college and you're like, wow, this whole new world's opened up for me. So for that to happen, and it's like a great chance to like really embrace what's out there and really have an opportunity to do that in a new place instead of being restricted.
Yeah. And one of the other things that was really, eye-opening for me was, I grew up, I lived in my mom's house, my whole life till I left to come to Arizona. I had 3 brothers and a sister, my mom, and there was always someone there to do the things that I needed to be done, whether it was help me get dressed, help me take a shower, help me do this, that, and the other. And when I came to Arizona, I had to figure out how to do all those things on my own. So it was kind of a forced, okay, you got to figure out how to put your own socks on. You got to figure out how to get yourself in and out of the shower, because all the tools existed.
Yeah.
Right. You know, they have tools to put your socks on. They have, you know, shower benches and all that stuff. I just never needed those when I was in Maine. And so, so it was, you know, it was really one of those things where, you know, I went from being very dependent and on a lot of other people to, in a matter of weeks, being almost totally independent. And what a great feeling that was. And I remember the first, semester here. I came down here in August. Okay. And it was, 110 degrees, and it was the longest summer ever, because I had spent the summer in Maine, and then I came down here, and August, September, October, November, December.
Still summer.
It's still summer. It's 75 degrees, 80 degrees in December. And I remember flying back home for Christmas vacation for a month. And I remember after being there for 1 week and being back in that whole environment where I couldn't take my own shower. I couldn't do all these things because I didn't have all the tools there, that I just wanted to get back here as quickly as possible to regain my freedom.
Wow. Yeah. That's pretty exciting. That's an exciting thing.
It was very exciting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, now I'm jealous of Arizona. So come on, Massachusetts, pick it up.
Well, it does make it does make you want to see a push or big changes, or even for us to be like, okay, now we want to be in an environment like that for Eddie.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's not facing the same types of challenges, but he's definitely facing challenges even on a different scale and on a regular basis. We try to do day trips or, as a family, and we go to, we went to Boston where you'd think things would be accessible. And we tried to go to, a museum or the aquarium, and it was a nightmare.
Oh, the aquarium is crazy.
And he uses a wheelchair part-time for long distance, so he can get in and out. And even that was just this isn't even accessible. This isn't working. And we were, in our head, we were like, we're going to Boston. It should be accessible. It's a big city. It's one of the, it's Boston.
Yeah.
Right.
It's Boston. And it was just then I remember Boston's one of also the oldest cities. It's cobblestone everywhere. He can't push himself. And there's just all of these obstacles. And we were like, oh yeah, the doorways are minuscule. Everything is tiny. We're going through, and it's just
everything has a curb.
Everything has a curb. And it wasn't as accessible as I think in my head I thought it would be. My wife
and I experienced a very similar experience about 6 years ago. We went to New York. It was our first trip to New York City, and we had driven there from Maine, and I had my little 3-wheel motorized scooter, and because it's easier to get around, I don't have to worry about little cracks and all that stuff. And I remember, I don't know how many times we are in the city, and we would go up a ramp and down to the next block, and you get to the other end, and there's no ramp to get off. So I'd have to go all the way back around, and I'm thinking, this city that is one of the richest cities in the world, and there's not ramps. And in fact, it was, I think just last year, I think that the city of New York settled with the ADA because they weren't compliant. So now they've set aside $1 billion or something, for them to, make all the curbs accessible.
But
so,
by the time that's finished,
that's 30 years after the ADA. So.
Yeah. Well, all he wants, he asks us every day. And this was before COVID. We kept saying, we'll go in the spring when the weather's better. All he wants is to go to New York City, because that's where Spider-Man's from, and he's a huge Spider-Man fan.
So you can see Hamilton.
He wants to see Hamilton. I don't know what he thinks that's going to cost us, but he's desperate to go. He's obsessed with Hamilton, obsessed. We listen to it on repeat 24/7.
I'm not going to lie. I'm really still into it. I'll be singing it all day.
But yeah, he really, really, really wants to go to New York City. And so it's been put on hold because of COVID, obviously. And it's all he talks about, and all we keep saying is how would we navigate that? how do you get a cab? How do you, I mean, we have a friend, who we also interviewed, whose son is a model. He's a model, an inclusive model. And so they go in and out of the city a lot. And so she's got like some tips and tricks for how to do it. But to like spend a whole day there, I'm like, this seems like what we would do with our daughter, we could probably do half of with him. Because the time constraints would just be so different for him. And so we're like, we have to really plan the day out.
Yeah, one of the things that we noticed with, being in New York is it wasn't easy for, if you have a wheelchair, to get on and off the bus system.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, they had buses that were accessible, but, and they have the whole subway system. Well, not every subway spot has an elevator.
Yep.
Right.
So we were going to a Yankee game. Well, we had to get off, before we got to the stadium and then, walk the rest of the way. And so with our experience with the subway, which is crowded, and if you got a wheelchair and things like that, it, can be a little bit, intimidating because, for me with brittle bones, I'm sitting down lower than everybody else. I'm in a crowded subway and everyone's standing up. And as it moves, I'm afraid that someone's going to fall on me or whatever. So, so my wife and I, we actually, we were staying by the World Trade Center, and we had taken a bus, down to the Empire State Building, and we walked back. And if you're not familiar with, it's quite a few miles, and the people at the Empire State Building said no one walks that far. No. And so, but it took us a couple of hours, and that was at midnight, and it was fun. It was an experience. It was the middle of the summer, but you have to, really plan your transportation out when you've got a wheelchair.
Yeah. I mean, that's a trip. I mean, going just to Yankee Stadium, that's basically going to another city. From there. That's a whole nother, that's crazy. So tell us a little bit, to kind of shift gears a little bit, tell us a little bit about how you got involved with Terrain Hopper. How did you and Terrain Hopper kind of get together? I know you said you shifted gears from being in IT and then you kind of joined with Terrain Hopper. Tell us a little bit how that happened.
So it started back in, I'm going to say 1997. I was dating this girl, and she was from the Midwest, and she had just moved out here to Arizona. And in one of our conversations, I found out she had never seen the ocean. And growing up in Maine, I mean, we went to the beach all the time. We're 20 minutes from the beach. And so I had just got my first handicap accessible van. So I just started driving. So I had all this freedom. And I said, boy, wouldn't it be great if we went to San Diego and I could show her the beach, and this would be my first road trip where I'm actually driving. And so we decided that we were going to, take a road trip. So we went to San Diego, and of course I'm, the whole drive there, I'm on cloud 9.
I bet.
I'm like, this is my first road trip. I got my own vehicle. I got a girl.
Yeah, you're so cool.
I'm switching the CDs, and I remember this in 1996. I'm switching the CDs.
Oh, you're going through the big book of CDs too.
That's right. Well, I had the visor thing down, so it's a little bit more convenient, but you had to plan out your trip to what CDs you wanted to have in the visor, easily accessible. Yeah. And so we were driving to San Diego, and then, we got to the beach, and, I get out of the van, and like I've always done, you basically push yourself to the end of the parking lot, and you're like, okay, there's the beach, there's the ocean. And I was just, on cloud 9. And then, and about 10 minutes later, she says, do you mind if I walk down there, and, walk along the beach? So immediately it was like the little, Pac-Man thing where it was like, okay, now I've got to wait up here while she goes down, and her first walk on the beach is without me,
ultimate.
And I would have loved to
FOMO.
I would have loved to have been able to hold her hand and walk along the beach and all that stuff. So I never forgot that. And so luckily, we continued dating, and she's now my wife. So it worked out okay. And so fast forward a number of years, and probably 2015, and I decided, I went on the internet and I said, I would really like to get on the beach. I really want an off-road, wheelchair that'll get me out on the beach under my own power. I don't want to be pushed out there. Mm-hmm. I don't want something that looks like a wheelchair. And so I started doing, all these Google image searches and, came across track style chairs and the balloon tire chairs and all that stuff. Yep. And I came across the terrain hopper. And at first I said, well, that looks like an ATV. It can't be for mobility challenged individuals. And so I went to their website. I did more research and I called them. Now, luckily it was being manufactured in the UK. So there was no language barriers. Nice. So I was able to call them, get them on the phone, and they were not shipping anything to the US. And, they didn't want to have to deal with the liability and all that stuff.
The cost, it's so large. Right. Yeah.
Right. The cost and everything. And so it took me about a year and a half to convince them to, start shipping to the US. And I was one of their first shipments to the US.
Wow.
And so I had them ship it to Maine. And so when I went to Maine, I could get out on the beach, and my wife and I flew there, and the terrain hopper arrived. And, now you have to keep in mind that I had never seen it in person.
Right.
I had never driven it. I had never test drove it or whatever. They got all the information for me, and, my measurements and all that stuff and what I needed. And when it came in the crate, it was like they built it around me. It couldn't have fit any more perfect.
It is so cool.
And so my wife and I flew to Maine, and we had our first walk on the beach, with the terrain hopper, and it was awesome.
That's awesome.
And everywhere we went, whether it was the beach or, I never really thought of this until after, that not only can I go on the beach, but I can go on hiking trails.
Yeah.
I can go to the state parks and pretty much anywhere they allow a pedestrian to go. Mm-hmm. And so we had our first, walk on the beach. We really enjoyed it. And everywhere we went, people would stop us and take photos and, videos and pictures and ask us questions. They've never seen anything like it before. Everyone knows somebody that could use something like that.
Right. For sure.
So they would say, oh, they have a relative or they have a friend and so later on, about a year later, I said, you know what, maybe we could start, manufacturing these here in the United States. And so I reached out to the group in the UK and said that I wanted to start a manufacturing facility here in Arizona and start building them in mass here, and start shipping them all around the country. And so we worked with them. We signed a license agreement back in 2017, and we started manufacturing in 2018. And we've been shipping all over the U.S. and Canada ever since.
I just got to edit when I called her the wrong name.
Listen, this editing is taking forever. I have to go grocery shopping.
Yeah. That's why you should go to Instacart right now. They connect you with a personal shopper in your local area to deliver groceries from your favorite stores. Instacart delivers groceries in as fast as 1 hour.
Hey, listeners, by following the link in our show notes, you help support our show. By doing this, Instacart is offering our listeners free delivery on your first order over $35. Wow, so it's pretty new here.
It's pretty new, yeah.
Wow. We saw you guys last year at the Abilities Expo. I think it was just last year.
Last year or the year before.
And
our son got to ride it.
Our son got to ride it. We have video and photos. He was so excited because right before that, it must have been last year. Yeah, it must have been, because right before that, we had gotten, we have a UTV side by side. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it looks very similar to the terrain hopper. And he thinks it's the coolest thing that daddy has this really cool toy, and we have, you know, we ride ATVs and we ride the UTV, and we have a cabin up in the woods, and so he'll take it. We'll take it up there and we'll ride in the woods with it and stuff. And so he's a little adrenaline junkie, our son, and so the fact that, like, you know, he can ride in the backseat with us, but he can't really drive it. And he can't drive the ATVs because he can't use the foot pedal or anything. But he can't really hold on with his leg. He's just desperate, you know, to do that stuff. So we saw you there, and he got in, and
he loved it.
Yeah,
that was awesome. Well, I mean, that's the new thing is because we have a quad and stuff too. So for him, it's like if it's a motor and it could go, he wants to try it. So it's just kind of difficult.
Freedom.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's huge. You know, that's the thing is like even with he's got great mobility, but I mean, it's still.
Everything is tiring for him.
Right.
I mean,
and
even just getting around and walking around and being on, like, you know, if we go for a hike, it's an accomplishment for him to go with us, but it's tiring. It takes him longer to catch up with us, and everything is just a lot. It's hard. It's work. It's not enjoyable for him. He wants to enjoy the experience with us. And so, and then if he's got friends with us, if we're doing something with his friends, he's, you know, for him, he's always in the back of the pack. You know, it's just taking him a little bit longer. And same with like riding a bike, or, you know, he can't really ride the bike because it's harder because he can't feel the pedals. Everything is just like work. And we want him to just be like the other kids and just it not be work, and it's just be fun for him.
Yeah, enjoyable.
Right. And that he got in that thing at the Abilities Expo and just thought it was the coolest thing, up and down the pallets. And he still talks about it. Like we were just telling him like what we were doing tonight, and he was like, "Oh, that's the thing I did at the Abilities Expo. That thing was so cool." We were like, "I know."
Yeah.
That's great.
Because I remember seeing that thing too. It was like, that's where my eye went too. I was like, look at the possibilities that can happen with that. And so that was, for me, that was just amazing to see that.
Yeah, I think one of the things that a lot of people don't realize is, just because someone has the ability to walk for a short distance at school or at their home or whatever, doesn't mean that they can go, that they have the stamina or the ability to go on a hike or to go walk along the beach. And one of the things that we've noticed with a lot of our customers is that, a lot of them are not in wheelchairs. They are maybe they have a bad knee, but they want to go out to their favorite hunting spot, or maybe they have a bad hip and they're in their 70s or 80s and they just want to go on a hike with their grandkids or their great grandkids.
Yep.
And because it doesn't look like a wheelchair, it attracts more people that don't want to quote unquote be in a wheelchair.
Right.
And so it's really opened up a lot of opportunities for a lot of people, to get out and do things that they wouldn't normally be able to do either on their own, or they wouldn't want to do in another wheelchair device type.
Yes.
Right.
I think you really like what you just said, really like hit home. And so many times as a parent, I think it hits me probably more than he probably brushes it off. But so many times people will say, because we knew that he had this before he was even born. So no one knew what to expect and what it was going to look like and everything. And so I can't tell you how many times people will say, "Oh, well, he's doing great. He's walking."
Yeah.
It's like, okay, like, great. Yeah, he is walking. Like, it is great that he's walking, but that's just so not where it begins or it ends in our world.
Right.
And I see his struggles on a regular basis. And, it's not something we just walk around talking about. We're not like, "Oh, well, he is this, but all this is going on." So as a parent, it is hard for me to see his struggles on a daily basis and not let him see that, because I want him to just enjoy whatever his day looks like that day. Even though he's struggling, we kind of just push through and move on to the next thing. And I want him to just kind of move on, but to really see, that there's something out there that gives him that can give him that freedom and that accessibility that doesn't make him feel different than, like, he uses his wheelchair when he needs to use his wheelchair, but many, many times he will say, "Oh," like, you can tell he doesn't want to use it.
Yep.
He feels that
I don't want to use
it's a restriction almost to what, he could use alternatively, even though the braces or walking slows him down or exhausting or is a lot of work for him. Sometimes I'll say, just take a break. Let's just hop in the chair, take a break. You can get back out if you want. And then he's like, oh, no, I don't want to. And we're almost convincing him. And then I feel guilty convincing him. And it's just this back and forth. But I can see how tired he is. And I don't want to push him too far because then I know he's in pain the next day. And it's kind of this weird push and pull. But to see it something that won't make him, makes him feel he has freedom.
Yeah.
Right.
Is such a different, it flips the coin on its head kind of thing.
Right. Well, what's interesting is what you're describing is exactly what a lot of people describe when they're trying to get their older parents to use a scooter to go grocery shopping or whatever. They struggle through the store and they're in pain and they just don't want to do it because they're too proud.
Yeah. That loss of independence or that stigma around well, if I have to do that, if I have to use that, then I've lost something.
Right.
Right.
But
and we've had many customers tell us that when they are in any other chair and they said that they can feel the way that people are looking at them or pitying them or whatever.
Yes.
And they always say, when I'm in the terrain hopper, people are envying me because they want to be in one, driving on the trail and everyone wants to stop and take photos and ask me questions and things like that. So they feel almost like little celebrities because they're, able to, be part of the focus is them in the chair and not necessarily them why they need
why they're in that chair.
Well, and the terrain hopper, like you said, when someone sees that, they see it as a way of, oh, I could use that, or someone I know could use that in a different way than, oh, you have a disability,
right?
Or you're different than me. Yeah. It's more of, oh, I could use. Or I could see how I know someone, or my dad has a bad knee and he loves hiking, or he used to hike, or he used to hunt, or he used to love the beach. And now it's so different. It kind of almost lifts that stigma off of it because it looks like this off-road cool thing. It totally, you're opening a door almost to say, hey, there's another way of doing this.
Well, you're bridging a huge gap.
Yes,
that's occurring right now because when we do talk about that, it is for me, just my father and my Pepe, the men in my life are very adamant about this is my power, my strength, my will. I will do it my way. And so it's I have that mentality too. And so knowing that mentality exists out there that's kind of the thing is the only thing that would, I guess, kind of convince my Pepe or my father in the future, if he ever needs this, is the fact that it's cool.
I like that you said that because if your dad heard this and thought you were saying he needed one of these, he'd be like, I can do this with that.
Dude, Pepe is going to beat me up anyways. My Pepe will challenge me to a push-up competition and stuff. He's very far from not independent. But that's the thing. It's that's the strong, stubborn gene that we have and that I'm soon to expect myself to have. But, it's one of those things where when I saw that, I was just this is awesome because that's what it is. The attention becomes the terrain, the terrain hopper and not the focus on who's using it and why. It's huge. And I just think to take that different mask away and give them a new a new, not a costume, but a new independence is huge because you're taking something from that if they have to use any other kind of mobile device where it's a wheelchair, a walker, crutches and things like that, and you turn it into the terrain hopper.
It's just a different way of I think for so long.
There is no envy. There's the attention. That is awesome. Right. And I'm almost envious of that machine instead of the pity.
Well, because everybody, let's be honest, everybody, men especially, but but everybody wants an off-road vehicle.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's fun. They do cool things. Who doesn't want that? So speaking of that, what can this do? It can go on sand. It can go on in the woods. Can it get wet? Can it go in water, little rivers, anything like that?
Yes. So the terrain hopper is extremely capable. It can go up a 35-degree slope, down a 45-degree slope. Wow. We've driven them down flights of stairs before.
That's awesome.
It can go in up to 18 to 20 inches of water.
Nice.
So one of our options is to waterproof them. So we have a lot of videos on our website showing it going through little streams, going on the ocean, on the beach with the ocean water, going underneath it. Soft sand, beach sand. We've gone on, on difficult rated trails here in Arizona. And so, it's got almost 10 inches of ground clearance,
nice.
Which is pretty significant. It's got 4-wheel drive. So each wheel has its own electric motor.
That's right.
And it's got a lot of power and a lot of torque.
Now you're talking Eddie's language.
Yep. It's got a lot of power and torque. Our speed ranges from 4 miles per hour to 12 miles per hour. We have a trailer hitch option where you can actually hook up a small little ATV trailer to it. We've got an overhead roll bar. We've got a number of options, probably almost 3,000 options where we can do a winch on the front, which is a cool,
I was just going to ask. I was like, can we winch that? Because that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, we do. We have a one winch that we put on the front. The other cool thing about the terrain hopper that is different than every other off-road 4-wheel drive vehicle out there that's a mobility vehicle is that it has handlebars. So if you don't need to use the joystick, you can drive it with handlebars. It also has a joystick option. So if you can't use the handlebars because your mobility impairment doesn't allow you to do that, you can drive it with a joystick. And so a lot of people that have use of their arms, they don't want to sit in a chair and use a joystick. They want to feel, they want to feel it, by driving it with the handlebars. And so, it'll go from 4 to 12 miles per hour, depending on what gear system that you get. And it's considered an OPDMD, which stands for Other Power Driven Mobility Device by the U.S. Justice Department. So if you are mobility impaired or mobility challenged, you can take it anywhere a pedestrian is allowed to go.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, how do you get around certain places, but by having that certification, you can take it.
Yep, if it's a walking
you can take
area,
it anywhere.
Interesting.
So we have a placard that we include with every terrain hopper, and it has the ADA and U.S. Justice Department rules on there. And so, you can go on the beach, even if it says no motorized vehicle. Yeah. The terrain hopper is exempt from that. You can go in the parks. Anywhere a pedestrian is allowed to go, you can take the terrain hopper.
Wow.
So it doesn't have any emissions. It doesn't make any noise. It's only 33.5 inches wide. So it doesn't take up much of the trail, and it's very, very safe.
Yeah.
You can fit through most doors. Is that what you said?
Because it's 36 is the size of your front door, the average front door. So 36 inches, and you can go right through that.
So now, what have you seen? Like, have you seen any creative or innovative ways that clients or customers are using it that you wouldn't expect them to?
We had a gentleman who just sent me some pictures the other day where he's got a pretty large property in California, and we put a trailer hitch receiver on the back of his. That was one of the options. And he went out and he got a wheelbarrow that he tows behind it. Yep. And he loads that up with all the brush and everything in his yard. And then he brings it over to another area. And so we've seen people, do that with it. We have another client that we set up where he is, he's not able to drive it himself. And so we put a joystick on the back of the machine. And so his wife stands on a platform that we added onto the back of the machine.
What?
She stands on the back and she drives it for him. So they're driving together on the terrain hopper.
Amazing.
That's actually wicked cool. Hey, that's what you can do when I'm all crippled.
When you're old and I have to push you around.
It's like I'm already there. Like my shoulders aren't working. Like my knees are going to be going soon. Like I destroyed my body.
You have the side by side.
So that can't fit through doorways, Kristen.
We'll trade it in.
We also have for maybe small children who maybe don't have the ability, or maybe they don't have the wherewithal to safely drive it now. We have the ability, like I said, for someone to stand beside them or behind them and drive the machine for them. Or if they're just learning and you're kind of a little bit worried about, okay, are they going to run into something or whatever, we have a kill switch. So you can walk alongside them or behind them, just holding the switch. And if they, are doing something that they shouldn't be doing, you can hit the button, it'll stop the machine.
Oh, that's perfect.
And so we have a lot of different options. Like I said, I would encourage people to go to our website and check out the dozens of videos, that we have. Probably 80% of our customers, the first time they see the terrain hopper or even drive one is when it arrives in the crate for them.
That's awesome.
And so we've done a really good job of creating a lot of videos that can really show its capabilities so people have a good understanding of it.
Right. Well, especially now we're in a time where you can't get out and try something. You need to be able to really make sure something is right for you before purchasing, because we can't go out and, and browse on something or test drive or anything like that right now. So it's perfect.
Right.
Perfect.
Well, one of the interesting things about this whole COVID pandemic is that prior to this, people, I don't think had a appreciation for what it was like to be stuck at home and not able to go places.
I know.
Yeah.
And so now that all these beaches are shut down and the parks have been shut down and all these places are shut down and people are, complaining, hey, I want to go out to the park. I want to go jogging. I want to go hiking. I want to go on the beach. Well, imagine, now what it's like for people who are mobility challenged that can never do that stuff.
Right.
The beaches and the parks might as well always be closed for them.
Right.
And so I think that there's maybe a newfound appreciation or understanding for what it's like to be mobility challenged now.
Yeah, for sure. So, you said they're located in Arizona, but they can purchase it online, right? And they can like you said, you can customize it like I was looking on there, to anything, colors. You can really customize it however it works best for you, size, colors, any type of way you want. They can do that all right online.
Yep, they can go to our Build Your Own form. We have thousands of colors to choose from. They can choose from dozens of different options. We can accommodate, anyone from a 5-year-old child all the way up to a grown man that's 6'8".
Wow.
And so we have 2 different sizes. And the nice thing about our standard terrain hopper is if you do have a child, we can customize it so that it works for them now, and then it grows with them.
Perfect.
So the seat moves, the handlebars move, everything moves. And so, if they get up to, 6 foot tall, they can still fit in the terrain hopper.
That's perfect. So it's an investment. I mean, really, it's something it's not like, even like, even like when you're purchasing a wheelchair, you're purchasing one every 3 years when they're kids. Mm-hmm. Where in this case, this is something you're going to buy once and it's going to grow with them and stay with them.
Right. And it's all aircraft grade aluminum. I mean, it is the Ferrari of off-road chairs. Not just because of its capability, but because of its design and the quality of the materials that go into it.
Perfect.
That's awesome. But you said it can only fit people up to 6'8".
Well, do you know someone?
I'm 6'9". Oh,
get out of here.
I'm 5'9".
Nowhere close to that. Now, are there? I mean, it's not. I mean, it does have a little bit of a price tag to it. Is there financing options, fundraising? What do people typically do to kind of? I mean, we know in this community, sometimes things are difficult to kind of help fund, pay for. Is there options for people in this community to help purchase this?
That's a great question. Unfortunately, this is one of those things where the people who need it the most, have the least ability to afford it. Mm-hmm. And so we've done a number of things. We've worked with individuals who might have a friends and family, who they want to do some fundraising with. But more importantly, we've worked with a lot of nonprofit organizations, such as the Paralyzed Veterans of America, Camp Civitan, Cerebral Palsy, all sorts of different organizations. And we have helped them find individuals who would help them sponsor a terrain hopper for their organization.
Awesome.
And so we've probably assisted in getting about 20 terrain hoppers in those different organization loan closets, we call them.
Nice.
And so if there's an individual, let's say, like, for example, we just shipped 2 to United Cerebral Palsy, West Central Wisconsin. And so they got a standard model and an extended model, and they're going to have them available for people to, I'm not sure if they're going to let people borrow them, or they're going to, set up, weekend hikes where people can come and, use them under a supervised type thing. But, we set that up because we want the most number of people to be affected by a terrain hopper that can possibly be. So, for example, if we sell one to John Smith, it's great that John Smith has one.
Right.
But it's going to sit in his garage 90% of the time, not being used.
Right.
But if it's in an organization, a nonprofit organization, then you could have a different person using it every day.
Yeah.
And having that experience.
Yeah.
And so I would encourage people, if they can't, afford one, they could certainly, do a fundraiser, and we could help them set that up. We could provide pictures and videos and links and, things like that to let their family and friends know. But more importantly, if they're associated with any nonprofit organizations in their area, and they could introduce them to the terrain hopper, we're usually pretty good about finding someone who can cover 50% of the cost if they can get the nonprofit to cover 50% of the cost.
That's perfect.
Right.
Awesome.
Nice. And so that's definitely one way to do it.
I think that's a great option. I mean, there's organizations everywhere. I mean, I think sometimes people don't always realize that are out there looking for, and right now, I mean, like, we even have a couple in this area that do constantly, like, activities and stuff like that in the community. Oh, yeah. That people are, and they're always trying to figure out and get creative about what else they can do to kind of get the community more involved. And, right now they can't do sports. They can't do all these other, we can't do sled hockey. We can't do wheelchair basketball. We can't do all of these things, but we can do, outdoor activities. We can do hikes. We can do all these things. So if they had a device like this that they could loan out, weekly to somebody on a weekend, someone could just check it in like a library, then what an awesome opportunity and a great way to allocate funds. Yeah. At the same time. Right.
Because then you're touching on way more end users than you would be by just donating it to one individual.
Yeah, exactly. That's awesome. That's a great idea. So we like to ask all of our guests, if you had 30 seconds to speak to our community, what kind of advice would you give them?
Well, my advice would be, don't take no for an answer, and don't give up. And, if you say you're going to do something, do it. I think that a lot of people in any community, whether it's the disabled community, non-disabled, whatever, they, a lot of times they'll say they're going to do something, and then for whatever reason, they'll come up with excuses not to do it. You got to do it. If you want to do something, you got to go out and do it. If you want to go on a hike, find a way to go on a hike. If you want to get on the beach, find a way to get on the beach. If you want to get some piece of equipment, make some phone calls, call people and see how they can help. There's so many different organizations and people out there that are willing to help. You just got to ask, and you can't be afraid to ask people for help. And, if it wasn't for, people in my life that I've asked for help, I wouldn't be, the person I am today. And so don't be afraid to ask for help.
Oh, that's awesome. I think that's a.
Was that 30 seconds?
It was, yeah.
That was good.
We always say 30 seconds, but it's really just like if you had something
to say. But it's like, go ahead, go off with whatever you want. We'll take care of it. We'll edit it down or edit it up.
I mean, I think it's perfect advice. I think so easily in a community that gets, it's easy to be in a community like this where you get, what's the best word to say? Like, not quieted, but you're not heard the same. And so, historically, it is hard to speak up and it's hard to be heard. And so if you're not told to just say, no, just do it. Just if you want to do something, find a way to do that. Have that energy and that push and that drive, because it can be hard. It can be hard to just push through, because it is hard, and you're already, we see it with our kids. Like, you're already struggling, and you're already on a regular basis for whatever it is. To push on the harder things on top of that is just extra energy that sometimes you don't want to put in, but just put it in when you have it, because it's worth it in the long run. You're going to see, and you're helping others sometimes.
Right. Yeah. I think that a lot of, disabled people get looked over, and that term "looked over," I think, I'm going to use in two different, aspects. One is, people will, just kind of dismiss them,
Yes.
Which I think is terrible. But secondly, I don't know how many times I've gone to a restaurant or gone somewhere, where I'm with a group of people, or maybe it's just my wife and I'm the first person through the door, and I'm in my wheelchair. I'm the first person up to the desk, and they look right over me and start talking to whoever's behind me, like I'm not even there, or like I can't communicate for some reason. And that just really, really is upsetting to me and anyone who that happens to. So, my advice for any viewer is to not do that.
Yeah. Listen, not that this is the same at all, but as a woman, there are many times that someone looks right over me to talk to Eddie.
Yeah. And I'm like, don't talk to me, because I don't know this stuff. She's the one in charge.
That literally happened to us yesterday.
No, yesterday was good. He was good. It was the other one. And so we
don't need to call them out, but it does happen to us on a regular basis.
And I was like, oh, go ahead and tell her. And he was like, okay. And he kept looking at me. I was like, why are you looking at me? Don't even look at me. Look at her. There's
been a couple times that Eddie's like, I know nothing, and she's smarter than me.
I've literally I've had to get up and just walked away, because I'm like, it's not reaching the person's ears. And it's always another guy. It's another guy. And he's like, oh yeah. And I'm like, no, I'm not the person you need to talk to right now. She's the one.
I think that's
I'll
the key.
build your house, but she's got to take care of the finances of it. So
I think that's the key right there, is if you're the person that someone's talking to and they're overlooking someone else, be the person, like you just said, to just walk away.
Yeah.
And then they're left having to deal.
You have to talk to her now.
They don't have a choice. Be the person to just be like, sorry, I'm not that person. You need to direct you need to be aware. I think it's many, many times it's easy to just not be aware of what's happening. Right. Be aware of what's happening and direct the attention to what needs to be happening. Because it's easy to just go, oh, well, they're talking to me, so I guess I'll handle it.
Yeah, you're not talking to me.
Right.
I think, be aware and be conscious, and almost call people out in a gentle way of just being, because I don't know that people even realize they do it.
Right.
It's subconscious, it's the culture as an excuse, but it's the culture we live in, it's just the only way it's going to change is calling people out. Our dogs are really, they're both right here, very needy right now.
Good boy.
What is Terrain Hopper working on? I know with COVID, things are probably a little different. I know we saw you at Abilities Expo last year, but things are probably a little different when it comes to marketing and outreach. What's Terrain Hopper working on?
Well, as you might imagine, all the shows that we had planned on, attending and participating in have been canceled.
Yeah.
And it's probably going to be the case through the spring of next year, would be my guess.
Yeah.
Oh.
And so what we've been working on is honestly keeping up with orders. We had so many orders this summer that we're booked out about 60 to 90 days right now.
That's awesome.
And which is a good thing, for us. And I think, one of the reasons why a lot of those orders are coming in, that people are like, you know what, I want to get out.
Yep.
I want to go do stuff. I don't want to be cooped up, in the house anymore. And so we're working on that. We're working on trying to get a remote control version of the Terrain Hopper, so that way people can, get out of the Terrain Hopper and use their iPhone or something to that effect. Yeah. So that they can drive it onto the trailer. And drive it off the trailer. Because sometimes it's hard to get it up on the trailer and then get off. To get out. And so we're working on that. And there's a number of other things. A lot of our accessories and ideas come from our customers. our customers say, oh, this would be a great thing to have, or and then we'll incorporate it for them, and then we'll offer it as an option for our other customers. So we're having a lot of fun. We're really enjoying, working with all the customers that we have. It's really rewarding to hear their stories and to see the pictures and the videos that they send us every week of them out doing stuff. And sometimes we get people that are sending us pictures and videos and they're crying, because they're able to go out and experience these things. And so it's extremely rewarding for me. It's rewarding for for our crew at the shop. Usually, every week or two, at lunch, we'll put up all the videos and pictures that we've gotten from our clients. And so we're really having a lot of fun, and we're looking forward to getting as many of these out there as we can.
Yeah. I mean, I'm super jealous that this isn't my job. It's literally sounds like the most fun job ever to bring something like this to people.
Well, how rewarding is that got to be? Like, you get to sit and see all the people that you're actually changing their life. You're changing people's lives.
It's just giving people freedom with a really fun tool.
Yeah.
Like,
we've done a couple of them for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. And so one of the things that we did for those that was a lot of fun is on the outside of the crate, all of our crew wrote different sayings, have fun,
cool.
Climb the mountain, and all these different things. And so they had a lot of fun with that, and they drew different things. And so it really is a lot of fun.
Oh, I bet. Oh, it's really awesome. So where can we find, where can our listeners find Terrain Hopper?
So our website is terrainhopperusa.com. And we have a YouTube channel. We've got, Facebook page. We've got, Twitter, and we've got LinkedIn. So we're, and Instagram. We're on all the social media. We post something every single day on every one of those platforms. It's either a picture or a video.
You're better than we are.
All new. We don't repeat anything. And so, and that's a testament to all the customers that we have that send us all that stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
And allow us to share it. And so, we're trying to post as many new videos on YouTube as we can. And every time we finish a new machine, we'll actually do a 360-degree video of it, and we'll post that on YouTube as well.
Very cool.
And so that way there people can see what the different colors are, the different options, and things like that. So, and if you're local here, or even if you're not local, we've had people fly in from all over the country to take a test drive and tour our factory. So that's, certainly another option. But like I said before, 80% of our customers, we work with them on the phone, make sure the machine is going to be exactly what they want it to be, and that, and that they'll be able to drive it. And so far, you could call every single one of our customers, and they would tell you that they are 100% satisfied.
Oh, I can't imagine someone wouldn't be. Well, the next time when we can finally travel again, sounds like we're going to need to make a few road trips this next summer, because we've already talked to a couple people where we're like, we have to go to California.
Dude, our whole podcast setup is mobile. All right.
We're going to have to take
an RV.
We're going to have to take a trip to Arizona and check out everything you guys have, because that is right up our alley, and little Eddie would love that.
Oh, we're involving the kids.
You guys come down here, and little Eddie would have a lot more fun, because we have a lot more comprehensive test track at our facility than just a couple of pallets.
Oh, he would die. He would be in heaven.
Well, what you got to do is just let me know ahead of time what color he wants. We'll just have it ready for you.
Oh my God, I can't even tell you. He's a Spider-Man fan.
Spider-Man, Captain America style. So red, white, and blue.
Spider-Man all the way.
That's for both of us. We both like that.
Oh, Todd, this has been awesome. I really appreciate you coming on, chatting with us. Thanks for letting Eddie test drive it at the Abilities Expo, because it made his day.
Yeah.
We'll have to send you the photos.
I would love to see the photos.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. We'll send them in.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Thanks for chatting with us.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for listening. We really hope you enjoyed this episode. As always, please make sure you share with a friend and leave a review.
You can find all the resources mentioned in this episode on our Facebook or Instagram on @SpecialAboutSpecial. Thanks again, and we'll see you soon.